Hey, welcome back. How's the market? It's a question we get all the time.
Yeah.
And when How's the Market came up today, I forgot to insert this little piece. But I'm on the Ninja emailing list and whatever. Next Monday morning, Larry Kendall from Ninja, he's the original
Ninja.
The developer of the Ninja. Steve Dunlop, I think, was the original Ninja. But Larry's doing a course on How's the Market, how to respond to this, and it's a webinar. If you want to get in on the course, send me an email. If you didn't get Larry's email on Friday. So I searched my email for Ninja and got How's the Market. It popped back up. I got it Friday afternoon. And this is going Monday, October 23rd, a week today, at 12 o'clock Mountain. So a good one to get in on, I think.
Yeah, that would be some good information, because we get asked that all the time.
Yeah, and Lindsay's done classes on this and everything else based on this information.
Yeah.
So get it firsthand, get it up front, and get that. So send me an email. I'll send you the link, or I'll just forward you the page, and you can kind of have a look at it and see if you want to get in doing that. So the 8 biggies in real estate. And
this is so exciting.
I can't count, and this is real exciting stuff, because whenever you get me on, you get rules and regulations, right? I mean, that's just what I do, so I apologize in advance for this. But I'm going to touch on the 8 big things that kind of dictate our industry,
okay.
Right?
Okay.
And going back and forth. So these are things you need to know. And you should take the time, and you can't do it in a day or so, but you should take the time and inform yourself about this. REIX is obviously our biggest watchdog or thereabouts. And REIX's advertising guidelines. I would say that 50% of the complaints that we get are based on advertising, right? They're not the major ones by any means, but so they have a advertising guidelines booklet. You can find it on the REIX website. If you get a complaint, if you apply for an AKA, if your name is Robert and you're operating under Bob, you could get a fine for it. You have to go back to REIX and apply for an AKA. You do that through your My REIX link and go in there.
Yeah, and it's really easy, actually. I was surprised. I just hired a new realtor, and she wanted to apply for that. And honestly, you just sign into your My REIX, and right on your profile page, you click on a button right in the middle of that profile page that says Apply for AKA.
Right. So if your name is Robert and you want to operate by Bill, they're going to say no. Okay?
Okay.
If you want to operate by Bob, it's not a problem. They're going to approve it right away.
Okay.
So if it's not a common derivative, they might say no. And if they say no, you can come back and there's a way to get it fixed. And you just have to prove that you're living as Bill.
Okay.
And all of your stuff goes there. And they'll usually go through and apply that. But you can't deceive the public. And that's a major thing. You're required to use the name that's on your license to do real estate. So I'm in there. I have an AKA of Russ, because Russell is my name.
Makes sense.
And everybody that doesn't operate under the full name on their license should do that and get that in. And that is one of the biggest things that they have, that we get little complaints about.
Okay.
Displaying the name of the brokerage when you advertise. It's important as can be, right?
Yeah.
I was in a hockey arena on the weekend, and there's a big sign on the wall of a realtor and advertising her name, and it was done in black and CIR blue, and she's not a CIR realtor, and there's no brokerage on it. And I saw the same sign last year, and I said I should complain last year. I didn't take a picture of it, so I'm not likely going to complain this year, but somebody will. Somebody will see the sign and complain. And you'll have to redo the sign.
So they like our CIR blue, hey?
They love our CIR blue. They do so. So this applies as well of using the brokerage name to your website. And on a website, every page has to be labeled with the brokerage name. So frame it, or whatever they call it, so it's always on the page. Your name, brokerage name, and able to do that. So that's the first. The second is RMS.
Really?
Right?
We're going to talk about that some more?
No, we aren't.
Oh, okay.
Other than hand your measurements into the brokerage.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's it. You guys know about the measurement standards.
So Russ, I have a question about that, actually, the RMS. So what about if you are listing your place, your client's place,
right,
and your measurement is significantly smaller than the same plan on another listing, and what should a realtor do?
From my point of view, the realtor should contact the first realtor, the other realtor, and say, hey, I listed the same property. I measured it myself, or I had it measured. I got a significantly different measurement. Just so we're playing fair, can I see your dimensions, or can you double check your dimensions and see if they'll go back and double check your dimensions? And
what if the realtor says no?
If the realtor says no, you can put a complaint in through CREA or REIX, and they'll look at them. Here's the deal with complaints. REIX, in a 2-month period just prior to, so it would have ended at the end of September, REIX had 103 complaints, I think it was, on RMS, just over 100 complaints. 60 of them were dismissed because the realtor sent in the documents and said, here's the measurements, we did fine.
So it's not like they're going out and confirming your measurements, they just want to make sure that you've got your documents, is that right?
They don't go out and, they want to make sure it was done, right? So if it was commercially, if you hired somebody or did whatever. Out of those 100, 15 of them made errors. They measured or made a math error, or they did something.
Okay.
And so the first 60 get dismissed, the next 15 get a letter of reprimand. And just say, hey, you made an error. Or not even that. They just look and see how much of an error it was too. Because there's a 2% allowance, right?
Yeah.
For errors or whatever. And then the remaining group, which is about 28, received the letter of reprimand or a $1,500 fine.
Yeah, and we saw that on the REIX communication.
Right, and you got a fine if you didn't measure. You got a fine if you ignored the rule.
Oh.
Okay? That's when you got fined.
That seems fair.
If you could present the other stuff. So when I was talking to Doug on Friday to confirm some of this, he said, we really don't fine a lot of people unless they ignore the fact that they're required to do this. And I'm sure when you hand your documents in, they want to see a diagram. It doesn't have to be to scale. It just needs to be something you can understand.
Okay.
And then they want your calculations and hand them in to Chris. They also want your CMA, by the way, in the file. And it's got nothing to do with RMS. It's got to do with how you came to your value. And if there's ever a complaint against you, it verifies the value that you came to on the property. And the seller is turning around and saying, well, he told me $100,000 more or $60,000 more. And if you print off the documents from our page, you get that silly little sheet that says, I determined the price should be here. You've chosen to list it here.
Yeah.
We put that in as a CYA. That should be in the brokerage file in case you ever leave the brokerage and there's a complaint. It'll stop from pulling you back into the industry or looking at things like that.
Okay.
So, and if you hand in, they just go under miscellaneous documents and get handed in. If we get them, we'll keep them. Don't worry. So next, REIX rules. And representing your client properly is the biggest thing here, right? Mm-hmm. So if your client tells you he doesn't want to buy an X drug house, then don't show him X drug houses.
Right.
Or ask the question when you do it. And make a note that you asked the question. And I would ask that question in an email, so you've got the note back. And make sure you're representing your client on what they want. They'll change their mind, don't worry. They always do, right? And then as far as the rules and regulations, one of the other things, and this is probably the most common long-term issue at REICA, is you just did licensing and you had those 7 questions.
Yeah.
Have you ever been?
Yeah.
Well, if you ever are, you're required to notify REICA right away. And they look at 5 days as being a long time. Like if you got charged with something on the weekend, you should be notifying the executive director today.
Okay.
And they're going to ask you for documentation and everything, but the notification to the executive director needs to be put in right away. And that's another button on my REICA.
Oh, all right.
So don't let that go a long time before you get in it.
And you're saying 48 hours is too long?
I'm saying that a week is longer than REICA wants it to be. I don't know if they'd fine you at a week, but they'll sure fine you at 2 weeks or a month.
Okay.
When they go back through this. You can look at it, I think it's section 40, but the short answer to all of this is those 7 questions you answered in renewal, they're the things they want to know about, and dealing with that. So then that kind of takes care of REICA and probably the top 3 challenges that we have in a week, a month, as far as complaints coming in from the outside. The next would be CREB. And CREB has more member-to-member complaints and some public-to-member complaints. Now, when you take a complaint to REICA or CREB, the client is never going to get money at the end of the day, right?
In terms of the realtor's client is never going to get money at the end of the day.
Right. On either one of these complaints. They're going to look at the realtor's actions. They'll fine the realtor, but they have never told the realtor to pay the client for something that's gone through. So that's small claims if you're going to get there.
Okay.
And not really an exciting path to that either. It costs about $100 to file a small claim under $7,500 and $200 over. Small claims now go up to $50,000, so you can have a pretty large small claim. But member-to-member complaints, they'll find the member, they'll assign them mandatory training possibly, and that's kind of the end of that.
Okay.
So CREB rules are harmonized throughout the province now, or there are the harmonized rules that most things we operate with, and you should know the rules. And you can go to CREB's website, click on harmonized rules, and pick them up and get them. The other thing CREB's in for is a mandatory training course. Of course, everybody should have finished this by now. The deadline is November 30th. The course is...
Have you finished it? I haven't quite done it yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it, though.
Everybody's going to do it, or they'll get their MLS shut off. But the reality of this course is it's an hour and a half, and it's pretty quick, pretty easy, pretty common sense. And they're in there with their little piece. Go to CREB.com, go in, or through Realtor link to CREB, professional development, mandatory trainings, the second tab on the left. Pretty easy to get to. Then CREB's other thing is running the MLS.
Right.
And setting the rules we operate under. So if you want to know about those, talk to Ian and Margaret, because they're going to be the ones setting the rules. One of them anyway, I'm sure.
I'd like to just interject on this. I get a lot of phone calls, as I'm sure you do, on what the rule is. What's the rule under CREA? What's the rule under REICA? I would like to encourage realtors, because I think you'll learn quicker and be able to retain what that rule is if at first you try and look it up yourself. So don't always just call your manager. And I have to say I was guilty of this as well as a realtor.
Right.
But try and look it up yourself. And if you still have questions, then call your manager. You'll retain that knowledge if you do it yourself, even if you just need to confirm what you think you've learned by looking up the rule by yourself. Please call the manager. But try yourself first is, I guess, my...
Well, and the one nice thing when you try yourself first, and I still do this every day, and if somebody calls me with a serious complaint, if it's a question, I don't necessarily do this all the time, but if there's an issue that's happened around it, I go and reread the rule.
Yeah.
Because the rules change, and especially CREA rules change often, and when I'm reading one rule, I'll have to read 3 to get there. Yeah, I know it's a pain in the butt, but you learn the other 3 rules as well and say, geez, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what they were doing now.
Actually, I see you do that every time that we get a question. I always see Russ go to the rules and review it. He never just says, this is the thing.
I've known them too long. Today is the 30th anniversary of me finishing my course.
No kidding!
I took a week holiday before I signed up.
Where's the cake? Where's the champagne?
Yeah. So over the 30 years, they've changed a lot. And stuff goes in and goes in and goes in and gets garbled. So I always look them up. I don't depend on the rules at all.
This is our Mr. Softy here.
Softy, there you go.
30 years today, wow.
Well, it's I didn't sign until the 27th, but I was looking at some stuff. So if Bob Jablonski happens to be watching, he's the only other guy that survived from my class.
Wow.
30 years. So yeah, it's been kind of interesting. So just take the time, know where they are. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
REICA has the industry bulletins, and I go to those before I go and try to look up a rule and interpret everything. And within the industry bulletin, if you really want to get down to the rule, it quotes it and gives you a link.
Yeah.
And so REICA's page, publications, industry bulletins, and there's 50 or 60 there. On REICA's blog, they have a glossary of terms.
Oh.
And the glossary will give you all of the real estate terms. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we are working. We told you we were going to do it sooner, but we always overpromise.
No, we don't.
The frequently asked questions for Quick Connect will have a link to the glossaries. There, Kelly's just pointing at her phone now, saying it's coming. It's coming. And so as we get up the frequently asked questions on Quick Connect, you'll be able to hit it there. I'm sure we'll also put up a link to CREA rules and whatever, so you can look yourself. Not a big thing here. I don't want to go too much over time. REIA is the next organization, right? REIA's got a mandatory class due January 31. It's enforceable contracts. It's not a bad class. An hour and a half long.
You've done all these already.
Yeah, I've done them all.
Good for you.
If you don't do them first day, you do them last day. Is
Yeah,
kind of
true.
the way it goes, right? REIA deals a lot with advocacy with the provincial government.
Oh.
So they're there dealing with MLAs, and the Real Estate Act is administered by the provincial government, and right now they're having advocacy days in Edmonton.
Yes.
This week or next week,
Yeah.
I forget which.
At the Matrix Hotel. Fitting, don't you think?
The Matrix Hotel is Did they rename the hotel for the
For
event?
area, yeah.
And so they're working on some of the tax rules, new mortgage rules. Age-restricted housing is becoming an issue, and condo document costs, something we all want to see. These are things that are on Area's list that they're working at now. Area's got new digs, by the way, in Marta Loop, 33rd Avenue and 20th Street, if you get up there.
You had to put that in there, didn't you?
Yeah, no, they're nice digs. Nice digs.
Great restaurants, great coffee shops.
Yep, good location for that. There is parking in the basement. Last time I was there, first time I was there, I should say, they weren't charging, but I think it looked like they were going to charge for parking downstairs.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of a drag.
Yeah.
REIX's new building, I'm told, is going to open between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh.
11th Avenue and 14th Street. And they'll be moving. REIX stayed in the same place. So that's it for area. CREA. And the higher we go on this chain of the organized real estate, we start out with CREB, we go to area, and now we get up to CREA. CREA deals a lot with the federal government, right?
Yeah.
And so they get the job of dealing with the Competition Bureau.
Oh, they weren't meeting with Justin this morning about the new tax rules?
They could have been. This is, and they also look at other policies federally that affect realtors and on this line, and they do, they try to do a pretty good job here, but this is a really difficult topic to work with because real estate is not a high on the priority list of government, and they just keep getting bumped. We've had some good go-arounds with the Competition Bureau. We're going to have some more in the coming years. They don't like organized real estate would be a nice way to put it, I think.
Interesting.
And so they're going to have their hands full as they go through that. I've heard there's a couple of Calgary guys that would like to work their way up into CREA and get up into upper
and try to have some influence
management and have some influence there. So I hope they are on that track and get there because it's always nice. Alan Tennant used to be president of CREA. I recall seeing Dale Ripplinger, who sits with me on the REIX. He's from Saskatchewan. He went through the last bout with the Competition Bureau and just got beat up terribly, and it just didn't make any sense. They basically said, we're going to do this, and it doesn't matter what you think or say. And I mean, they fought it legally.
It's disheartening.
It was disheartening at the time and still is. So CREA works that. CREA's one of their other things, and it's tied in very closely if you understand the rules, is trademark protection. The word realtor, is a big thing. And if we can identify, and if we're not sloppy on how we use the word realtor, then realtor becomes special. If we treat it special, it becomes special.
So in all of our publications or our documentations, our letters or anything, whenever we use the word realtor, we should have the little trademark. It
should be block letters.
Yeah.
With the registered trademark along with it. So CREA sets the rules for the trademarks, okay? And there's more than one trademark. MLS is another one, and the Realtor brand, and there's a few others. You can go to CREA's website and click on trademarks and see them. But what you really have to watch here, and we've had some people really raked over the coals for their websites. And every once in a while, CREB is the one that actually administers the day-to-day on this. CREA is the one that sets the rules. But they'll search, and they went through one of our realtors' websites who had a pretty substantial website, and they found over 270 infractions. Every time the word or the MLS was used, there needs to be the proper font
Wow.
and the trademark. And the same thing with Realtor. If you went through your website today and you searched, how many times would you find the word Realtor that it wasn't laid up in block letters and done there? So this is a huge job. It's costly. You have to shut down the website in the meantime when they come to you. And
So you
Craig
want to
goes
avoid
back
this.
and does the audit, and they'll throw it to you, and they'll send you the letter. They'll send us the letter and you the letter saying that you have this many infractions on your website. Fix it today. Fix it right away. They'll give you a couple of days to get it fixed, and then they pull the website down. You can't get it fixed in time because your web designer or whoever looks after it isn't that available. So I know that we had a couple of guys in the Northwest office when I was managing there that had this, and it was ridiculous. Please go to your websites. Make sure that first go to CREA, check which logos are trademarked that you would be using, and it's in text. It's not just off to the side. And then make sure the things that should have a trademark have it. And it'll be a big thing.
Okay.
So, two more, and I'm a little over, but not bad. REIX. REIX has a subscribers agreement, and their position in the whole thing is to defend realtors against lawsuits.
Okay.
That's their existence.
Okay.
But
so they work for the realtor.
Yeah, they're owned by the realtor.
They're owned.
REIX is a reciprocal. They're not a co-op, they're a reciprocal. You are actually the owner of REIX and the subscribers as a whole.
Okay.
It's mandatory through the Real Estate Act that you buy E&O insurance through REIX. I have to say that the coverage that you get for your $275 a year is extremely cheap. And if this ever went to the open market, we would see insurance companies bidding this at about $200 a year the first year.
Yeah.
But what REIX does is REIX fights and settles claims based on their merit and not based on what's cheapest for REIX. Because they know if they fight a claim this year and establish a precedent, then from that point on, they can rely on the precedent and go back and do it over and over again. So you would see inexpensive claims in the first year because they're going to hear all of these claims numbers from REIX. This year is their second lowest number of claims ever.
Why do you think that is?
Because they manage the claims and they train the realtors. They train the managers. I'm on the phone with them on a problem issue 3 times a month, I would say.
Yeah.
And so are most other large managers. But so they're part of our prevention. They do a lot of brokerage training. They were in Red Deer about 2 weeks ago. They were up north in Grand Prairie as well, and Fort Mac. They do Calgary and Edmonton on a regular basis. They get poor turnouts in Calgary because they're here. But they get reasonable turnouts elsewhere. So this organization is there. It's not there for you. It is your organization. You're an owner under the subscribers agreement. So be there, support it. I can tell you if we were ever forced to go to open insurance, your rates would be sky high compared to what they are now. So they prevent through education. So that's the 8 biggies. And of course I can't count. So the 9th biggie is FinTrack, right? And I didn't even put FinTrack on the list when I thought about these. I went through organized real estate and said, what is everybody's position? FinTrack, as we know, they're there to deal with money laundering. We need to know the rules. You need to report suspicious transactions.
Yes.
If somebody brings you a bag of money, of cash, you need to take them to the bank and get it at the bank, and then you still may want to report them as suspicious. Now, we've reported people, Chris has reported people under suspicious transactions in the past, and they never know they're reported.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to come and flare in your face.
Yeah. I think that's important to mention, actually, is that if you do report a transaction as being slightly suspicious or very suspicious, you need to feel safe that it's not going to come back on you.
Yeah, they're not going to come back. They know that they're dealing at the highest level. I mean, they're dealing with organized crime and whatever. They're not going to reflect back on you.
They don't care about
that's
us little
the case.
realtors.
No. So
unless you're into organized crime.
Unless you're sharing in the proceeds, right?
Yeah.
Well, and then in which case, change brokerages and be quiet. I don't care. So, but FinTrack's there. Be aware of it. Every year it seems we're going to have mandatory classes now. Those with a commercial license next year are going to have a large mandatory course. It's 20 hours plus. It's being designed through the Haskins School of Business at the university, so I expect it to be a higher level course and better as well. I don't think you have to take it, but you can't keep your commercial designation. We have to take it, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's there. So those are the biggies that kind of dictate our industry, right? And if you wanted to put a 10th on it, would be CIR's office policy.
Right.
Because it's
one.
there, but we try to make it so it's not constrictive to work, and you can get out and do your business your way.
Okay.
So that's that.
Well,
sorry for going over.
Yeah, it was titillating news.
Yeah. It's exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are you going to do when I'm gone?
Where are you going?
I don't know.
No, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So I won't see you next week, but Lindsay and Chris will be back.
Yeah.
They're back wearing their mouse ears this morning, and they
seem pretty chipper this morning.
Yeah, something wrong there.
Yeah. Anyway, we hope you guys have a great week. Stay positive, stay uplifted about real estate. And I know things are a little bit slower, but you know what? This is all part of the cycle that we always go through. If it's a little bit slower for you, this is an excellent time to start thinking about upgrading your marketing possibly, or your website. Take advantage of the time that you've got. We hope you have a great week.
Yeah. We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Bye now.
Bye.